Welcome to the kickoff meeting for the Southwest 10th Street Connector Project Development and Environment, or PD&E study. This project is being conducted by the Florida Department of Transportation under Financial Management Number 439891-1-22-02. Tonight we will discuss the Southwest 10th Street Connector PD&E study from the Turnpike Sawgrass Expressway to I-95. While the adjacent I-95 and Sawgrass Expressway projects are being evaluated as separate studies, all three will be presented as one regional project encompassing the entire Southwest 10th Street corridor with connections to the Turnpike and I-95. Representatives from these adjacent projects are here tonight to answer any questions you may have relating to those specific studies. This presentation will briefly review the Southwest 10th Street project history, the Metropolitan Planning Organization, or MPO, consensus study, activities that have occurred since the MPO consensus study, and describe the PD&E process and what will be evaluated as we proceed with the Southwest 10th Street Connector PD&E study. Regional transportation planners recognized the need for improved transportation facilities in northern Broward County in the 1970s. In the early 1990s, FDOT completed a PD&E study to connect the Sawgrass to I-95 along Southwest 10th Street. The project was not advanced, however, mainly due to community concerns. In 2008, the Southwest 10th Street corridor underwent another feasibility study, but the project had little political or community support, and once again it was not prioritized. Meanwhile, the traffic, safety, and operational issues along Southwest 10th Street continued to worsen. Realizing that some type of improvement was needed, the Broward MPO formed a consensus building team in 2015. This consensus building team was named the Community Oversight Advisory Team, or COAT, which consisted of 15 members from the cities of Deerfield Beach, Coconut Creek, Coral Springs, and Parkland. The team also received technical input from various county and FDOT representatives. The COAT's purpose was to formulate a vision for the Southwest 10th Street corridor that was acceptable to the community. The COAT also compiled a list of 18 recommendations to be examined in the PD&E study. In order to continue the collaborative efforts, the FDOT has requested that the COAT members remain engaged during the PD&E study. The COAT's recommendations were formalized in a report and presented to the Broward MPO in 2016. Recommendations such as safety, improved operations, and environmental considerations have already been incorporated into the project's purpose and needs statement, and all recommendations will be fully evaluated with the study. You will see gold key icons throughout this presentation. The gold key symbol represents COAT recommendations to be evaluated during this study. Based on the COAT's efforts, the MPO recently decided to prioritize the project, and the FDOT planned and funded the new PD&E studies for the interchanges and the Southwest 10th Street Connector. Prior to beginning the PD&E study and to get a head start on the project, the FDOT completed a lot of upfront work such as field surveys, traffic data collection, and traffic forecasting. This pre-work is the starting point for the PD&E team. Today's meeting is the first public meeting for the Southwest 10th Street Connector PD&E study, which is now underway. The overall transportation project development process is shown here. We're in the PD&E step shown in the lighter blue color. In the PD&E step, engineering design alternatives will be developed that consider the COAT's recommendations. Public outreach and agency coordination will take place along with evaluations of environmental and community impacts. At the end of the PD&E process, the FDOT will recommend a preferred alternative. A project development and environment study is the step after a planning study, but before a project enters into the design phase. A PD&E study must follow National Environmental Policy Act or NEPA requirements. During the PD&E study, all social, environmental, and engineering analyses are performed and documented regarding the proposed transportation improvement. These analyses will support decisions regarding basic design concepts and identify a preferred alternative. Since a PD&E study is not a final design project, some elements are developed to a conceptual level of detail and must be further coordinated later in the design process. Public outreach is a very important component of a PD&E study and also supports the project recommendations. The PD&E process is further broken down in this graphic. We're currently at steps 2 and 3, conducting the kickoff meeting and performing the engineering and environmental analyses. During the engineering analyses, alternatives are developed to meet the needs of the project while incorporating the code's recommendations to the greatest extent possible. Potential impacts to the corridor's social, natural, and physical environments will be studied and documented. A continuous community outreach process is integrated into every step of the project to ensure that corridor residents, businesses, the traveling public, and other interested parties have opportunities for participation and meaningful input throughout the PD&E study. There will be various opportunities for you to provide your feedback. Every PD&E project starts with a purpose and need statement. The purpose and need for this project is comprehensive and includes many of the code's key considerations. Providing a limited access or freeway-type connector facility along the corridor between the Sawgrass Expressway and I-95 will improve system linkages and connectivity between Strategic Intermodal System, or SIS, facilities. I-95, Florida's Turnpike, and Southwest 10th Street are all SIS facilities. SIS facilities are those that are critical to statewide mobility and economic development. Local transportation needs for Southwest 10th Street will be addressed, including the application of complete streets concepts and pedestrian and bicycle facilities. Safety and operational issues will be addressed along the corridor that will enhance emergency response and evacuation times. I-95, Southwest 10th Street, and Florida's Turnpike are all designated evacuation routes. This project will also enhance social demand, intermodal relationships, and economic development for the area. As illustrated here, the Southwest 10th Street corridor represents a gap in the existing and future regional express lanes network. This corridor is an important SIS link between the Turnpike and I-95. The Turnpike and I-95 are the backbones to the north-south movement for people and goods throughout the state of Florida. Implementation of an express lanes corridor roadway, along with an improved local roadway along Southwest 10th Street, addresses other key code recommendations and will complete the regional network and promote mobility and economic vitality of the area. The crash rate along the Southwest 10th Street corridor is higher than the state average. On average, there are 103 crashes with 105 injuries yearly. These crashes represent an economic loss of approximately $15 million per year. 3 intersections, Powerline Road, Southwest 24th Avenue, and Military Trail, are on the state's high crash location list. Operational issues must also be addressed with any proposed improvement. Current traffic patterns indicate heavy eastbound traffic in the morning that backs up onto the Sawgrass Expressway. In the evening, westbound vehicles spill back onto I-95. Current level of service, or LOS, is measured from A to F, with A being the best or most efficient traffic flow, and F representing the worst traffic flow in congested conditions. The Southwest 10th Street corridor overall operates at an LOS of F. There are operational issues at intersections along the corridor, and many of those intersections also operate at failing levels of service. The majority of the corridor currently carries approximately 50,000 vehicles per day and operates at LOS-F. Traffic volumes along the corridor are predicted to increase, and the number of vehicles wanting to use the corridor, or traffic demand, is represented by the numbers in the orange boxes. If no improvements are made along Southwest 10th Street, the severe congestion along the corridor and surrounding roadways will continue to worsen. All design alternatives will be developed and refined throughout the study process to meet the project's purpose and need and avoid or minimize impacts to the community and natural and physical environments while incorporating as many code recommendations as possible. The alternatives will be compared to each other in an evaluation matrix using common criteria such as community and environmental impacts, traffic operations, lifespan, and others to determine which alternative has the least impacts overall while providing the most long-term benefits for the communities. As part of any PD&E study, a no-action alternative will be evaluated and included in the matrix. The team will evaluate 2 facilities within the Southwest 10th Street corridor. One will be an express lane facility to provide a connection between the Turnpike, Sawgrass Expressway, and I-95. Concepts will be evaluated with different entrance and exit ramp locations between Powerline Road and Military Trail for access to and from the express lanes and local Southwest 10th Street. The extent of the below-grade section is being evaluated for the express lane facility and will continue to be developed as the study progresses. The other facility will be a local, lower-speed roadway to serve businesses and communities within the corridor. Bicycle lanes, sidewalks, and other community elements will be evaluated. One concept to be evaluated includes a center express lane alignment with the local Southwest 10th Street located on each side and operating as a frontage road system. This concept is being evaluated with a below-grade section that addresses a key code recommendation. Another concept under development is a northern express lane alignment. This concept locates the local Southwest 10th Street facility on the south side of the express lanes. This alternative is also being evaluated with a below-grade section. Each build alternative will be evaluated as it relates to the natural, physical, cultural, and social environments, with the goal being to avoid or minimize impacts to these resources. Results of the analyses will be documented and reports prepared and available at a later date. Multimodal accommodations such as park and ride lots and transit will be taken into consideration during this study. Noise is a key concern for the communities surrounding the corridor, and a robust noise analysis is being performed. There are 7 residential communities, 3 recreational sites, and 1 commercial site that are noise-sensitive areas. Noise levels will be measured at various locations along the corridor and an analysis performed for each of the concepts. Each alternative will be evaluated to determine if, where, and what type of noise barrier would be the most appropriate for the impacted areas. Noise walls, if required, will be closely coordinated with affected stakeholders. The FDOT has already planned and funded 2 future landscape projects with ample budgets to address aesthetic elements along the corridor for installation immediately after construction of the roadway improvements. As the PD&E alternatives are developed, landscape design concepts will be developed and coordinated. Here is the schedule for the study. The Alternatives Public Workshop is currently scheduled for the spring of 2018. Additional details and plans for the concepts being evaluated will be available for review and comment at that meeting. The public hearing, where the FDOT will recommend a preferred alternative to move forward to the design phase, is tentatively scheduled for the end of 2018. Each of these meetings represents additional opportunities for you to offer feedback. Location and Design Concept Acceptance, or LDCA, signifies the end of the PD&E phase and is scheduled for early 2019. Continuous public involvement is included in the PD&E process. As we move forward, alternatives will continue to be developed and refined, and environmental evaluations will be conducted. Public outreach will be continuous throughout the study, and interested groups are encouraged to contact the project team, who will be available for group meetings. The team looks forward to meaningful stakeholder engagement during the PD&E process and welcomes all input. The Alternatives Public Workshop represents an additional opportunity for you to provide your input and feedback to the team on the engineering concepts being developed. The public hearing is another meeting where you can provide your comments. This project is currently scheduled to begin the final design phase in the spring of 2019. Currently, construction funding is in 2025, but FDOT is working hard to advance funding to get this important connector constructed in order to complete the regional roadway network. This concludes our presentation, and we thank you for attending this kickoff meeting.